And good morning, my beautiful America. This is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. Thank you so much for joining us here. Today is Tuesday. It is October the 25th. When I was looking at some of my orders this morning, it said they will be here on November 1st. And I woke up for a hot second and said, November 1st? Really? We are looking at November. It is literally at our front door. And we are here at Common Sense America. And I tell you what, today we have a fun couple interviews this morning. I'm so excited to bring to the show a returning guest, Dan McMillan, Ph.D., historian, campaign finance expert. Guess what we're talking about? We're talking about 13 days until the midterm elections. We're talking about campaign finance. We're talking about how the local, state, and federal officials are hogtied. Yes, they are. They are hogtied by big interest groups like big pharma, big media, big tech. So we're going to be talking about some hot button issues, bringing the truth, God, family, country to this show. Yes, we are doing that today. And then also, in the latter half of the show, we're going to be talking about Christmas, one of my favorite topics. And on this show, we talk about Christmas. We're not going to say season's greetings. We're not going to use any other hashtag other than Christmas 2022 as we celebrate the Christmas holiday. Yes, I have many friends who are out there who are of other faiths. And yes, I respect them, honor them, and celebrate with them and their other faiths. But today and on my show, we are celebrating the Christmas season, and it's never too early to give, to shed light on, to give hope, to serve in the community, not just at Thanksgiving and at Christmas time, but throughout the year. So that's why I decided to bring on today in the latter half of the show an Eastern North Carolina group, Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. I got to talk to the vice president, Melissa Urquhart, yesterday on the phone. Oh, she's an amazing human. And we evidently met on the campaign trail. She remembers me standing at the polls with my Trump posters. So I'm excited to have her join the show in the latter half. We are going to be talking Christmas. And as we head into all of these Burr months, my favorite time of year, we're going to be talking about Christmas features, Christmas books. I will tell you, the other day, I got my favorite author's book in the mail, Debbie Maycomer. It is her newest book, The Christmas Spirit. And if you have not ordered this, she's not paying me anything. She just knows I love her books. We have been pen pals since before my mother-in-law passed in 2018. And Debbie Maycomer has been a dear friend to my work, for my media business and my clients. And she's also been a dear friend in the sense of her just supporting the work that I do. And her writings are phenomenal. She has so many different series. She is an amazing woman in her own right. I've reached out to her, and hopefully she will be joining our show during the Christmas holiday season. Also, I wanted just to share something a little wild with you before I bring Dan over. So all of you know, I travel the Northeast a lot for work, for family, for the radio show here at Common Sense America. And my husband opened up our mail yesterday, and the Maryland Easy Pass, DMV Easy Pass, Driver's Easy MD. They say it's Drive Easy, but this is not easy for some reason. For some reason, they have pictures of my old car and are charging me 16 for another 8 and another 4 for my old car and dating it from my time up north last week. Does this make sense? No, because the DMV of Maryland is a little screwy. So, you guys have any insight on dealing with easy passes and drivers of Maryland? Let me know, because every time I go through a toll, yeah, they take the picture of my license plate, but it's inactive license and it's an inactive car. I have a totally different car now, but they're still stating it is from my last week's trip, which makes no sense whatsoever, right? So never can depend on government officials, never can depend on Maryland DOT either. Anyway, that's just my little rant for them taking all of our money as we go through the tolls up north. It's ridiculous. Jersey really got me when I was up there in August. New York, not so bad, but Jersey added an additional $30 onto my toll booth charge. What was it for? It was for paying all the bureaucrats and paying the governor his high salary. That's my perspective on it. As we are talking about the dollars and cents, this show is a lot of fun politics on the table. And it's, kind of making fun of the Wicked Witch of the West and her dentures falling out as she does the morning shows on Sunday, or looking at Hillary Clinton and the most recent Twitter feed of talking about us Republicans. I'm a conservative Republican. I'm not a rhino. I'm a conservative Republican, just to separate the difference, talking about how we're going to be stealing the elections in 14 days. So anyway, I'm bringing over Dan McMillan, Ph.D., campaign finance expert and a historian. He's coming right over to our show this morning, and we are really, really glad to have him here. Hello, sir. How are you?
I am good, Eden. It's good to be with you again.
It's good to be with you too. As you heard me ranting about the toll booths of Maryland, Virginia, DC, not even DC, New York and New Jersey, and all that bureaucrat money. Let's talk dollars and cents this morning, Dan.
Okay. Well, I don't own a car, so that's a particular issue on which I live in Manhattan. So.
Oh yes, that's
great. Car is a burden rather than unless you can afford to spend $800 a month for a garage. So.
Yes. You are correct. That is correct. Well, I'm looking at your most recent news alert that Maria sent me this morning. The state level midterm election fundraising could exceed $7 billion. Am I reading that right, Dan?
That's exactly right. That's from the Center for Responsive Politics. They have a website called Open Secrets, which is it's a nonpartisan organization, and that's where like if you want to find out where your representative or senator is getting their money, whether any candidate in a high profile race is getting their money, which industries, which donors, you can go to Open Secrets, look them up, and find that information immediately. It's very good.
I see that, opensecrets.org. I see that. I will put that in the news feed as people are tuning in and watching the after show. It's showing, it does say Open Secrets, that's $7 billion. So let's break this down. As you, with your campaign finance background, I want to just read a couple things that was sent into the press release that I've been reading through. Republicans and Democrats are engaged in an intensifying money race, which with polarizing, bringing more money than ever into our elections. So I want to highlight something right now. I was a state house candidate in the primary, and you say something next that's really intriguing to me. State level candidates vying to oversee future elections are seeing an especially noteworthy surge in funding, highlighting the public's concern, yes, with election integrity, yes. And according to Open Secrets, a nonprofit org that tracks campaign finance and lobbying, yes, let's talk about that. You know, I saw a lot of corruption on the campaign trail, not on my campaign. But as I looked around and I saw money underneath, I saw people manipulating by being bought out as the candidates were being bought out. Let's talk about that from the state house standpoint, from the state official standpoint. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I mean, I think that what's happened is that the money race, the arms race between the parties in fundraising has, been having already gone off the charts at the federal level, has gone off the charts at the state level, which means that probably there's the only level of government in which deep-pocketed donors do not have a veto over any policy that people in government are going to do is maybe at the municipal level, at least in smaller municipalities, but certainly at statewide races, for that matter, I think state legislatures, we've got to a point where you can't get a campaign off the ground. You can't be credible. You can't even have the media treat you as viable. Can't really even have the public hear your name as often as not, unless you raise money up to a very high level, which means that the bulk of the policy alternatives that might be available to us to address the country's problems are off the table and not even part of the conversation. And all kinds of people who might be very good representatives for us at the state or federal level won't even run for office, because if they go talk to a professional campaign manager, say, I'm thinking about running, the first question you get, and you must know this from your own experience, Eden, how much money can you raise?
Oh yeah, that was the first question. First question, hands down. And you know what? I instantly knew, and they are a regional organization that works on a lot of campaigns. I get it. They have a job to do. I didn't like the method to their madness though. And I told them that. And I found somebody who had worked on the Trump campaign who I knew through a friend. And I said, these are my guidelines. It may not be the normal campaign. I said, we're not going to slander. We are not going to steal. We are not going to take money underneath the table. I said, this is a God honoring campaign. God called me to do this, whether I win or not. I am going to honor the Lord in doing this campaign. And I didn't do what the other female candidate did. And I'm not going to mention her name because she doesn't need free publicity on this show. But the lack of integrity, the lack of morals, and the methodology behind what her campaign manager was doing, and seeing the attack, seeking to have me arrested on election day, seeking to destroy my husband. Oh yes. Seeking to destroy my husband's military record because her husband served. Oh, I don't care. I mean, thank you for your service. And I said that to her over and over and over again. But character assassination, they did it to Trump. And why would they lower themselves and do it to local and state? But my point in saying all of those things is, yes, I saw that. So what can we do for people who decide, you know what, do I want to run again? I want to run because I want to serve this nation.
That's right.
But I don't want to run and have big pharma, big tech, big media in my back pocket saying, you need to vote here, you need to vote here, you need to vote here. I don't want that. I don't want anything to do with that. And the thing is, at the end of the day, I'm not going to be controlled by these groups. So do I want to run? My husband says, I know you want to run. I know you want to run. I know you want to run. But at the end of the day, it's so corrupt. Why do you want to run? I said, because God has called me to serve this nation. But I don't. So let's break it down with regards to what can candidates do if they really feel called to run, but knowing that they are going to be hogtied, as you say, in that press release.
Well, I think that at the certainty of being very self-aggrandizing, I think that what people need to do is support my organization in the Republic. Just to say, I founded and I lead a nonpartisan group called Save Democracy in America.
I have that below, so everybody sees the link. Yes, go
there
ahead.
It is. Yes, good. Thank you. And so we are putting, our goal is to build support among voters on both sides of the aisle. And so far, judging from the media attention I've gotten, because I've gotten onto outlets that are conservative,
yes,
like yourself, and also people who are quite liberal, and in between, really all across the board, because Americans, regardless of party, understand that our political system is not working and is busted.
Yes,
and
it is.
We're all fed up with politicians not listening to us. And the solution, not that it's a magic wand, but it's really fairly straightforward. What we are trying to do is build support for the democracy dollars reform. And the basic principle is simply that right now we have a system where it's so expensive to run for office. The only people who have any say in our government anymore are high dollar campaign donors, special interests of every kind. You mentioned big pharma, big oil, and there's 100 others out there, or 500, is that we become the donors. And the way this would work is that the federal government would give us, for every election cycle, an online account of campaign cash, $100 for a presidential year, $50 for the midterms, which are cheaper, for each registered voter. And You can't take the money out and spend it for personal use. You go online and assign it to the candidates you want to support. And in that way, with 168 million registered voters as of 2020, that's a very large pot of money. It's actually even more than the 14.4 billion that were spent in the last presidential elections to influence the outcomes. Any competent candidate who really wants to serve the people would be able to raise more than enough money from us, the voters, to run a competitive, expensive campaign. And their opponent is not going to have much, excuse for taking money from all these special interests. We take the view that, probably most of the people in Washington, even though many of them had been corrupted by this corrupting system, went there originally with the kind of good intentions you had when you ran for office. They want to serve the people. These people are not moral monsters. For that matter, the donors are not evil people. They're doing what they have to do. I mean, if you're a wealthy Republican and you do not write checks to the Republican Party and Republican candidates, Democratic donors dominate the government. If you're a Democrat, you're in the same boat. If you're a politician, if you want to go into politics and you don't have stomach for big ticket fundraising, don't bother. I mean, for you to make the effort that you did without taking the big money is really noble, and my hat's off to you.
Thank you.
It's kind of, but it's really pretty. It's not realistic.
No, it's not. No, it is not realistic. But you know what? Something else that's not realistic is the fact that these candidates forget about the people that they serve. They don't even door knock anymore. I go back to Kennedy and Reagan, two of my favorite United States presidents. Kennedy was a Republican in many ways. He was a conservative Democrat in many ways.
Yes, I agree.
When I saw him on the campaign trail and I saw how he met with the people, and then Reagan did the same thing. That is what I grew up doing in Pennsylvania politics. That is what I did in Iowa, in South Dakota, in Minnesota, when I was out there doing campaign work for Steve King from Iowa and all the presidentials.
Yeah.
Engaging with the people is what these candidates forget about. And in another conversation I had with a candidate who's running for Senate, and I'm not going to say their name, but they are Republican and they're running for Senate from the state of North Carolina.
Okay.
And I had a couple conversations. One, as a previous Hill staffer serving more than 20 years on Capitol Hill, knowing the ins and outs of Capitol Hill. And then separate from that, talking about the fact that this state is full of military installations, military families, and also full of veterans. This is one of the biggest states for veterans to retire to. And the point I'm trying to make is this. It goes back to what you said. These candidates are being bought out by all these big monopolies, but yet they forget about who they are still serving. And I approached that candidate very respectfully to talk about the fact that our VA system, and especially my husband's service and all of those who have served, there are major cracks in the VA system.
Yeah.
How many billions of dollars does the VA get? But I don't know where it goes. I don't understand that. And I explained to this candidate these issues, laid them out, simplified them. The remark was, you need to go talk to your congressman.
The senatorial candidate said that to you.
Yes. Pin drop. You could have heard of pin drop.
Yeah. Well, the reality is, Eden, you say that they serve us, but the reality is that for decades now, we have not been their constituents. Their donors have been their constituents.
Exactly.
But the reality is they have no choice. The thing that I just, we're all angry at politicians. And the anger of the American people is very understandable because we're the country that invented government by the people. Our ancestors, Americans have given probably 800,000 lives in, wars fought, really more to provide this freedom for the rest of the world rather than for us, because the continental U.S. has not been under direct attack since the War of 1812, but and yet that freedom has been stolen from us here at home by big money. And politicians ignore us because we don't matter. I mean, they want our vote, but what they have to have is the money, because without the money, they don't have the ability to ask us for our votes. They don't have the ability to run the ad campaigns that manipulate us to vote for them. So, but the thing about this, democracy dollars system, if we can establish it, is that suddenly a fundraiser is not a $5,000 a plate dinner.
Right.
It's a meeting with your constituents.
Right.
It's a mailing to your constituents. It's a rally in your district or in your state.
Right.
It's where you talk directly to the people, where you listen to the people in a town hall event and persuade them. Treat them as the adults that they are. Vote for me because, look, my campaign is funded with money from you, and I'm serving you. I'm not serving big oil, big pharma.
Right.
And, is this going to completely drive money out of American politics? No, that will never happen. There will always be corporate-funded issue ads or union-funded issue ads. But if we can whittle the money enough down to size, we can level the playing field, and a candidate like you, who isn't a multimillionaire with a lot of friends at your country club who can give to your campaign, but rather a normal person,
right,
can, by knocking on doors with democracy dollars from people in your district, run a viable campaign. And we can have a Congress that, I mean, not that I'm knocking millionaires, it doesn't, having money doesn't make you bad people, but it'd be good to have Congress where not everyone's a millionaire, where you have people who are middle class and working class who are serving in it. And this way, this system, I think, would make that possible for us.
Well, I like the idea of what you said about the $5,000 donor dinners. I'm done with those donor dinners because all they do is serve rubber chicken, and I'm frankly,
honestly, if I'd never been to one, that'd be the least of my objections. But
oh my gosh, I had friends say to me during the campaign trail, and they would watch my eating habits, and I would always prep my food before I went. One, because I was on a journey to lose 25, 30 pounds. And two, I was on a journey to make sure that I wasn't full during the meal. So when I got up and spoke, I was not heavy on my heels. And, growing up in Pennsylvania politics, going with my father to, see Arlen Specter and Rick Santorum and all the greats from Pennsylvania, I always remember it was always rubber chicken. And then it never changed when I went to DC and all the political events I had to go to. You think they'd come up with something a little bit nicer if they're going to make you pay $5,000 a table, So, I would love to change a lot of things as it, comes down to it. This may be a little off the cuff and out of your space, but I just want to get your analysis, if you will, about the gubernatorial campaign that's going on with Zeldin and what you are seeing since you are in the great state of New York. And the great state of New York is a very powerful place on many different levels. And upstate and the surrounding aspects outside the city, it's a powerful state in so many different ways. You have your farmers, you have your small businesses, you have many amazing Americans that live in upstate. But my thoughts and my questions to you as we head into these midterms, we are 13 days out, and DeSantis and Chris were last night, Oz and Fetterman. You have all of these big, Carrie Lake, you have all of these big names, Tudor Dixon, all coming out. What are your thoughts on Zeldin? And, he is a sitting congressman. What are your thoughts on the state of New York as it pertains to, and a lot of big donors in that city, especially in the city of New York. What are your thoughts on just the gubernatorial so far?
Well, I mean, there's a ton of money in New York, and especially Wall Street money, which historically, at least as recently as 2016, was split between the two parties. You remember Hillary got,
Yep.
Well, in addition to the campaign donations, she also got $250,000 for a 2-hour speech, which
right.
is very impressive. It's but I tell you, the thing is, because we are strictly nonpartisan, and because it is so hard to be accepted as nonpartisan in such a polarized environment, I'm going to stay away from commenting on Zeldin or any other candidate.
Okay. That's fair.
But what I will say about this election is a couple of things about these midterms. One is that the messaging of both parties is overwhelmingly negative.
Okay.
and increasingly alarmist. And indeed, I think you'll agree, in the last 3-4 months, the degree of partisan polarization and the extremism of the language has gone off the charts. I mean, it was already off the charts, but it's just sort of whatever metaphor you want to use for whatever's above the charts is intense. And the question is, why is that altogether? Why has polarization? It's been building for a long time in our country, but I would say the last 10 or 12 years has escalated. The last 6 years escalated dramatically. I think that it's interesting the way that correlates in time with the way that the cost of campaigns has skyrocketed.
Yes.
For example, you mentioned the $7 million figure for state elections. That is unprecedented. I can't tell you off the top of my head, but I think that's probably more than twice as much as 2018. Likewise, at the federal level, for the midterms, the Open Secrets is projecting $9.3 billion versus, I think, about half as much in 2018. Between 2016 and 2020, White House and Congress together from $7 billion to $14.4 billion. Now, how does
Can I interrupt you for a second? Can you imagine how many mouths that would feed and how many lives that would save if they put the money in a different direction? I just had to throw that out there.
No, I think that's a very good point. But an even bigger point is that if we could just tweak the system, and what we're promoting is just a tweak, is really just shifting where the candidates get their money versus from these private donors to from us, right? And then suddenly, instead of being beholden to the big donors, they're beholden to us, and we can kind of get back to government by the people. In any case, how does the money drive polarization? A couple of ways. Well, actually, I think it does 3 ways, and I think I want to focus on this because this is really it's interesting. Both parties are saying ferocious things about each other.
Right, they are.
And just incredibly demeaning things about each other.
Well, it's the character assassination that I referred to earlier. That is what they're doing. It's undermining people's character.
Oh, I mean, there's that, and there's, and disparaging the voters of the other side, which is kind of a new level of escalation. And to me is totally, when you see politicians disparaging the voters of the other side, that is when you see politicians that have completely forgotten what the democratic form of government is.
Right.
Because if you believe in government by the people, if you're losing an election, you don't point the finger and blame at the voters. You look in the mirror, right?
Right.
But that's not the way it operates anymore. And again, I think because they've been spending all their time in a bubble, rubbing elbows with wealthy donors, and who are just a lot more fun to talk to than we are. They're better educated. They're better dressed. They're,
Well, I mean, and that's the thing. Let's talk for a second about this. When Biden was at Constitutional Hall in Philadelphia, I remember, I think I had this conversation with you. I was pretty fired up. I was angry. And I have every right to be angry because he was pointing the finger, like you said. Politicians are pointing the finger at specific groups. He was pointing the finger specifically to calling me a conservative Christian, an extremist.
And a threat to democracy.
So why in the world, as we look at the $14 billion, that's coming down the pike, are people, okay, let me ask you this. 1, are people wanting to stay unaware, keeping their head in the sand because they've given up? Or 2, do you see more people wanting to fight back with this opportunity of savingdemocracyinamerica.org? Or 3, do you see people like myself who are tagged as extremists and threats to democracy wanting to come back and fight and not give up, whether it's through a show, whether it's through interviews, whether it's through campaigning? What are your thoughts, Aldi? I mean, because that is one of the greatest insults and character assassinations that a United States sitting president has done. And at the end of the day, I do miss my boss's mean tweets because they didn't even come close to that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, a couple of things. I think let me focus on what I think is really kind of the heart, two things that are heart of the matter. One is I think that a lot of Americans, very, very many have tuned out politics altogether because they feel powerless. And to a very large degree, we are powerless. Not completely. We still have our vote, and that matters, and that still gives us some leverage. But the thing is that right now, I mean, my argument is that the biggest single thing that has broken the political system and has stolen from us our say in how we are governed, that has taken really our birthright that was written into our Constitution, is the money. And the thing is that no one who works in politics, no candidate, has any incentive to help Americans understand that it's the money, more than anything else that did this, that has paralyzed the system. And this is one source of polarization. It's one source, I think, of the anger between Republicans and Democrats, is that not understanding that the money is the real enemy, Republicans and Democrats turn their frustration on each other. Secondly, their politicians of both parties encourage them, to see each other as the threat. I mean, what's interesting, you've seen a number of polls recently where 68 to 70% of Americans, and the numbers are almost identical, Republicans and Democrats, say our democracy is in mortal danger. And they are 100% right. Unfortunately, probably a majority on each side see the other party as the danger.
Oh yeah, most definitely. Because I'm sitting here hearing you say that, and I'm thinking, yes, we are in danger. Our homeland is in danger. Our national security is in danger. And as our Americans and is our national security going to wake up to the fact that China and Taiwan are staring right at each other, and they're waiting on Putin? And I sit there and say, okay, I am going to blame whoever is the commander in chief, because frankly, I don't know who that is. Is it Obama in his pajamas in Martha's Vineyard? I mean, seriously, you have presidents running this country, or lack thereof, in their pajamas in their basement, and then you have Senate candidates like Fetterman doing the same thing. And my question is, when are we as a nation, we the people, going to be able to stand up and say, no, enough is enough?
Well, and I think the way that we stand up is that we recognize that we focus on this money problem, because this really goes to, I'm not saying it's the only problem in our political system, but the money drives so many of the other problems we got. And I was talking about polarization. One way is simply that Americans are frustrated at being disrespected by politicians, at being powerless, at having our government not serve us. As politicians, the last thing they want to explain to us is that, well, I'm in the pocket of these special interests, and all I can get you is crumbs from the table. So, and consequently, politicians in both parties, because both parties were captured by big money a long time ago, they push a divisive message. Okay, from Republicans, the message has been, for Republican politicians, mind you, I'm not talking about voters. Your problem is not the Wall Street firms that crashed the economy, so you lost your house. And won't pay their fair share in taxes, so we've got deficits. Your problem is, Black people committing crimes and sponging off the government. Your problem is immigrants who want to take your jobs. Your problem is crazy liberals who want to send the FBI to your house at 2 a.m. and take all your guns away. And from the Democrats, the message is, oh, your problem is not the Wall Street firms that paid for my last campaign and my future campaign and crashed the economy. Your problem is the racist gun-toting redneck who hates you because of the color of your skin and wants to ram his Christian beliefs down your throat. And I'm not saying immigration is not an important issue. I'm not saying people's gun rights are not an important issue. And I'm certainly not saying that abortion is not an important issue, which it is. And it's worth fighting over, whichever side you're on, okay? Because the stakes are enormous. But on the other hand, it's amazing how much the parties milk these issues for anger. And what it does is it divides, it keeps the money on top, because it divides the American working class and the American middle class against each other. I mean, most of Americans working class, middle class, even to some degree upper middle class, have been getting the short end of the stick economically for decades. But because both parties have been captured by moneyed interests, what they have is what they both do is they divide, us against each other, whether by race, religion, other sort of emotional laden social issues like
the emotional and the social issues are huge right now. They are trying to destroy the nucleus of the American family, or the family in general. Dan, I want to just end on this final note. We are going to head into a quick transition to our next guest. But one thing I want to say, the next guest I have coming on as I'm teeing it up is a nonprofit organization in the Eastern North Carolina area. And you know how we mentioned those billions of dollars?
Yeah.
All going to special interest. And you can't even go on Capitol Hill anymore and go into your congressman's office and and ask to meet with the chief of staff or ask to meet with the congressman. They don't even allow you in these doors anymore. They don't even allow you in the halls of Congress. Oh, hold on a second. Wait a second. They do allow one person and this type of group of people. They allow terrorists on Capitol Hill. Senator Cory Booker from Jersey was allowed and was taken a selfie with a terrorist that my husband fought while he was in Iraq. So they allow them. They allow them. I had a counterterrorism expert come up and say that. But let me go back to this really quickly. My point in saying that is, we the American people, we the people, no longer have the right to go to Capitol Hill, no longer have the right to walk into a congressman's office and sit down and have a conversation. They keep the doors shut. They keep them locked. And that $14 billion that you cited needs to go back into the pockets of the American people. They are searching to be able to put food back on the table. They're searching to be able to put gas back in their tanks. They are searching for the next opportunity to make sure that they are providing for their family, whether it is senior citizens, whether it's caregivers, whether it's a husband, single mom, single dad. And that money needs to be reappropriated. And, it's groups like Project Christmas Cheer here in Carteret County. That is where money needs to go, not into the pockets of our local, state, and federal officials. I'll end it on that note. Okay. Dan, I love having you to the show. I love your laugh. I love getting you to those little things. But, I'm fired up because I know how much little time we have left. And, we continue to get these threats. So on that note, I'm going to say one more thing. Candidates, you quoted in the press release that was sent, candidates can't offer solutions to our problems because they are hogtied by all the favors they owe donors. Keep that in mind as you go to the polls. I want you to educate yourself as you go to the polls, and don't take a cheat sheet and have somebody tell you how to vote. Educate yourself on who are the candidates. Educate yourself before you even get to the polls, and have an understanding of what's going on. Get your head out of the sand, get your tuchus up, and go activate and engage. Any more thoughts, Dan?
I ask everyone to check out our website, SaveDemocracyAmerica.org.
Yes.
If you like what we have to say about how to get money out of politics by making the voters the donors, please tell your friends, because a message coming from you, from someone they know and trust, is 100 times more powerful than the same message coming from me on TV or radio.
Yes.
I do my best to make my case, but no one in the audience knows me from Adam. If you know, someone who knows you and respects you, because all we really need to do is get the word out, because this plan it's not perfect. It's not a complete solution, but it's common sense. If we can get enough Americans behind it, we can really make a dent in the money and kind of move the country forward. That's my view.
And on that note, you have joined Common Sense America. I love common sense. I love bringing it to the table. Dan McMillan, Ph.D., campaign finance expert and academic historian. Go to SaveDemocracyInAmerica.org. Dan, thank you so much. I look forward to seeing you again.
Likewise, Ian. Always nice to be with you.
Thank you. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye. And on that note, we are headed over to bring... I'm so excited. I love Christmas. It is that time of year. And if all of you who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. And I warned you on social media, we're going to start talking Christmas. We're going to start talking all the different holidays and really engaging, lifting up the community, engaging the community, giving back, giving back, giving back. From Thanksgiving to Christmas, we are giving back here at Common Sense America. So, if you are looking for opportunities to volunteer, get involved, donate, here is your opportunity to do that. And here is your opportunity to hear just powerful stories of legacy of service in the Carteret County area. So, without further ado, I have the honor to bring over Melissa Urquhart. Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. I'm doing great, Eden. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It's so nice to meet you. And thank you for being at Common Sense America. We are all over the social channels. People are tuning in. This is going to go up on Beaufort County now as well. And we're just so glad to be able to support an organization like yours here in Eastern North Carolina. And after our conversation yesterday, I'm just excited for you to share again your story and the backgrounds of Project Christmas Cheer and why it's here in Carteret County.
Yeah, absolutely. So Carteret County got its early beginnings in 1982. It started as a partnership with the Department of Social Services. It started simply as an angel tree at Captain Bill's Waterfront Restaurant. And every year, Eloise Blair, who was the head of Department of Social Services at the time, would get requests from churches or other organizations of families within our area that need at the holidays.
Mm-hmm.
And so what she would do is she would give names of the children and they would become angels on the tree. And it wasn't one person, it was a community that took care of these families. People would come in, they would adopt either a child or an entire family, and purchase Christmas gifts for them at Christmas. Through the years, that expanded past the point that really social services could help. And as regulations and things picked up, the organization moved forward in 1987 to get its own charter and become its own nonprofit organization. And so since then, Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County has been serving the families in need and the individuals in need, and has expanded all the way to senior citizens through the years. So now we take in approximately 450 families every year on average, applications from those families. Depending upon the year, we serve anywhere from 800 to 900 children in our community, and then up to 150 seniors in the community as well, based on the applications that we take.
Oh my gosh, those numbers are astronomical. Let me ask you this, and we're going to keep politics aside, but as we both know, Carteret County has had a huge inflection of transplants from the north and coming from all over the place. Have you guys seen a change in, as you are receiving applications to those you can serve? You had mentioned senior services, you'd mentioned elders. Are you seeing a higher need in different populations because of the greater movement of people moving here, or more because of the fact that, the economic climate is strapping people?
Yeah, so it's kind of a combination of all those things. Carteret County is an area where a lot of people retire to. It's a smaller area, so you get a lot of people that leave larger cities that come here to retire. And so we do have a larger senior population. However, as far as the groups that we see really in need right now, it is that senior population. And a lot of that is due to the fact that they tend to fall through the cracks. Specifically with the COVID relief and things that have been happening, we work in conjunction with Department of Social Services as well as the Salvation Army.
Okay.
And what they are seeing is that while the federal government and the state government have provided a lot of benefits to families and to working individuals as COVID relief, as businesses have shut down, seniors have kind of fallen through the crack on that. And as you know, if you've been shopping lately, prices across the board are up.
Right.
So their benefits are not reflecting that increase in cost. So like we have received reports that one of the senior communities in our area, there are people in their homes that don't have any food to eat, and they are banding together to, help support one another and get food. And they have been in contact with the Salvation Army. They are working to help them, and we are working to help them as well.
No, that's fabulous. Well, let's break that down even more. So for the audience that's listening, the audience is nationally based, but it's very specific to here to Eastern North Carolina. For those who are tuning in on all the social channels and who will look at the after show, where to break it down, where can people best help Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County? Where can they best help you? Is it providing additional funding? Is it gathering together to help get the food and the gifts out? What are you looking for from the volunteer standpoint and the donor standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great question. So there's several ways that you can help. If you are local to our community, visit one of our angel trees. The angel trees will open on November 14th.
Okay.
The angel tree at the Sports Center of Morehead City will open that Monday, and it will run consecutively until the angels are gone. And so you can go into Sports Center and you can adopt a child. They have also agreed to do a senior tree this year at the Sports Center, so you can go in and adopt a senior that is on our list that is applied for Project Christmas Cheer this year, and help support that senior in their needs. So if you're local, please go adopt an angel. You can also adopt angels at One Harbor Church. They are starting donations on adoption Sunday, November 27th. And they will be open Sundays from 8:30 until 12:30 for adopting an angel as well. So either one of those places is a great location to go adopt an angel. If you aren't local or you aren't able to go shop for a child, we absolutely run off of donations. We are a nonprofit organization, and those donations are used several different ways. One, they keep our office open. They help pay for the computers and technology that we need to take applications and to get information out. In addition to that, every child will be provided for whether they're adopted or not.
Okay.
So the monies we take in each year, if there are children that have not been adopted on the tree, then we take the monies that we have collected, we divide that between the children, and we shop for them to make sure everyone is taken care of. We also are providing gift cards to seniors this year that they can use for food and for paper goods. You know, that's something that people really don't think of. Paper goods and cleaning supplies. The cost of those have increased. And, you know, those are things people think of food, but they don't really think of those cleaning supplies and paper goods. So those are things that we're trying to provide for them this year.
Also, yesterday, I love some of the stories that you're sharing with me, these stories of impact, talking about the history and the legacy that you were a part of so many years ago. And you see the stories of impact of those who you served who are now coming back to serve. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a really unique perspective of Project Christmas Cheer because my parents were some of the founding members of Project Christmas Cheer. And so I grew up in our restaurant as the angels were being adopted. You know, in the early 80s, all the restaurants in Carteret County closed in the winter. Right. So we kind of became Santa's workshop in the winter. In the beginning, we collected and delivered all the gifts to all the children with our staff. And so I have been, from a child on up, I've been able to help sort gifts. I've been there as people have come in and picked up gifts, and we've delivered gifts as well. And one memory that sticks out to me, I couldn't have been older than 9 or 10, and we were delivering gifts out in the community. We went to a home, and there was two young boys there. They were home by themselves, and it was cold. It was early December, and they didn't have coats or shoes, and they were outside playing. And we went in to deliver these gifts to them. And the people that had adopted them had just boxes and boxes of food. So we went to put the food in the refrigerator, the milk and stuff like that in the refrigerator. And there was not even a jar of peanut butter in this house for the kids to eat. And the gifts were just overflowing around the tree that had been purchased for them. But all the little boys could say was, "What about mommy? What about mommy? Is there a gift there for mommy?" Well, there was not a gift there for mommy. And so we went out and got a nightgown and bedroom slippers and brought them back and let the boys help wrap them and make a tag and put it under the tree for their mom. So from that kind of spawned that we started collecting information on the parents at Project Christmas Cheer, so that if there was a need for the parents, that the parents could get a gift at Christmas. And so now anybody birth through 100, we find a way to help at Project Christmas Cheer.
Well, I have to say, I used to be a huge fan of Hallmark Christmas. I now watch Great American Christmas, Great American Community. It is definitely more faith oriented. And, Project Christmas Tree, I think, would be a great storyline to pitch to Great American Community. So I'm putting it out there for those who are watching on Great American Community and who are, supporting my work. Thanks to LinkedIn. This is a great one to focus on. Project Christmas Tree or Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County. Any final words where, as we are wrapping up the show, I'm all about Christmas. We're all going to be up talking about Christmas throughout this whole season. I want to start playing music. I want to start getting people activated, shining the light of hope, giving, engaging, bringing the community together. So for us in the local area, what are the immediate things that we can get? I'm typing as you've been talking. Where can we immediately start to help? And where can my husband and I start adopting a bunch of kids? What can we do? I mean, I'm ready to go. And if you need me to help you decorate, I'm there too.
Well, if you go to our Facebook page, Project Christmas Cheer of Carteret County, it's got all the information there, and it can link you to the dates and the times that the angel trees will be open. We're starting applications on Monday, November 7th. So as those applications come in, we truly are an organization that cannot do this on our own. This is community led. The only way we can service these families and children is because of the churches that come to us every year and adopt children and seniors, of the people in the community that come together and adopt. We have school systems that contact us and say, we want all of our third graders, or we want all of our fourth graders, and they take care of them. We have communities that come together down east and they go, we want all the children from down east, or we want the children from Beaufort. The fire department gets involved. It truly is a community effort. And if there's any doubt that what you do makes a difference, I can't tell you the number of years that we have had people come back in to adopt angels that they themselves were on the angel tree when they were a child.
Yeah.
And they talked about what an impact it had on their lives, and that they wanted to be able to give back now in their life to someone that needed help. Our Bible verse that we go by at Project Christmas Cheer is Matthew 25:35 through 40. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was naked, you clothed me. When did I do this, Lord? When you did this unto the least of my brothers, you did this for me. And so we truly are his hands and feet. And that's what we try to do in our community at Christmas time, and to just let people know that they're loved and to meet a need within our community.
Oh, that's so powerful. With that said, as I am trying to keep back the tears, that is just amazing. And I'm really grateful to have amazing people like you in the community. As I'm sitting here live and crying, everybody's going to see me vulnerable. Yay! All right, let me grab my coffee and my Zaybars. I'll be fine in 5 seconds. Anyway, my husband's going to say, stop crying on TV. It's live. I'm like, you know what? Life's too short. It's okay. Melissa Urquhart, I am so grateful for your service. Vice President, Project Christmas Tree, Carteret County. Hey, Great American Community, if you're watching this, make sure you reach out to Project Christmas Cheer, Carteret County. They have some great stories, great testimonials. And for all of those tuning in, both locally, Eastern North Carolina, and also around the world, around the nation, you guys have such a support to Common Sense America. Go to their Facebook page, and you also see projectchristmascheer.com. Get involved. Adopt a kid, adopt a senior, adopt a family. Get involved. Thank you so much, Melissa. It's so great to have you here. And I look forward to having you come back, and we can talk more about what else you need as we get closer to the Christmas season. And we can talk more about if you have specific needs, we can highlight those, but we would love to have you come back. Thank you.
That would be great. Thank you so much, Eden, for having me. I look forward to being on again in the future.
Oh, my pleasure. God bless you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And for all of those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. And yes, for the first time on camera, you've seen me cry. It is not a big deal. You know what? It shows that I have heart. And I'm sure Megan Kelly cries sometimes, and I'm sure other people cry. It's no big deal. You know what? For such a time as this, we need to get involved. And on that note, we have 5 minutes left until the top of the hour. I will tell you tomorrow we have Sarasota County board member Bridget Ziegler. She is doing Mamas for DeSantis. She just hosted a huge event with Casey DeSantis the other day, fighting for our children, fighting for our education, parental rights, fighting for the parental rights in the great state of Florida. We got America's governor's endorsement, and that was Bridget Ziegler. She is board member for Sarasota County. She will be with us tomorrow. It's gonna be a full 45 minutes with Bridget. We're gonna be breaking down what is happening to our education, what is happening to our children, what is happening to them as they are going to school. Are we protecting them, or are we protecting our parents, or are we protecting the progressive agenda? Are we protecting the woke and the transgender agenda? That is going to be a huge conversation tomorrow. We're going to be talking about America's governor, Ron DeSantis, and we're going to be talking about the powerhouse of Casey DeSantis and what she's doing to protect the mama bears in the great state of Florida. You know what? I'm calling it right now. We need her as our first lady, and we need America's governor, Governor Ron DeSantis, as our president. He is a commander in chief already. He is fighting for Floridians. And you know what? Charlie Crist and their gubernatorial debate last night was absolutely ridiculous. And you know what? DeSantis comes right back and just says, you know what? I'm here to fight for the state of Florida. I am going to protect our constituents in the great state of Florida. You know what? We need more leaders like this in the United States of America. I am looking for a leader, and right now I don't see anything coming from the White House. So you know what? Let's look for a leader and let's get character back in the White House. Let us put somebody like America's governor back in the White House. That is what we need, and I'm calling it right now. With a little less than 3 minutes left, I'm going to take a quick break, and we will be right back. And for all those who are tuning in, this is Common Sense America. I am Eden Hill. What a phenomenal Tuesday. It is Tuesday, October the 25th. We are 13 days out till midterm elections. Are you guys ready to take back this country? I am. You know what? We're going to be talking about truth, God, family, country on this show. For such a time as this, we have the opportunity to get our country back. We have an opportunity. Looking for leaders? Yes, we are going to be bringing leaders to this show. And I'll tell you what, we have a candidate series interviews coming up next week. I have some surprises for you. Not going to release them yet, but we have some great candidates who are running for different offices around the nation, not just in North Carolina. Also, we are focused on doing a huge veteran tribute week. We're going to be focusing on a bunch of different veteran service organizations, both locally to Eastern North Carolina and also at the national level. So we have a lot coming down the pike for you. We hope you will tune in. Subscribe on YouTube at Common Sense America with Eden Hill. Follow us on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook. We are here. We love you guys. Thank you for supporting Common Sense America. We'll be back tomorrow. Have a great Tuesday. God bless you.